Green Bay at Arizona. Arizona, the 6.5-point favorites. How has the line been adjusted with all these Packers players on the COVID-19 list?
So this was originally Arizona -3.5, and then the word trickled out that Davante Adams might be out, Alan Lazard might be out, and it started to climb up to where it is currently at 6.5. So we've seen a 3-point line move, which is fairly significant considering we're not talking about a quarterback being out or injured. We're talking about a wide receiver. It's not to downplay Adams. He's phenomenal. The guy's a beast. But normally you don't see this much of a move for a non-quarterback position. So it got as high as 7 at one shop here in Vegas yesterday. Immediately, some smart guys jumped on that price, knocked it back down to 6.5. We've seen the total drop from 52.5 to 50.5. That's what I would play tonight. Arizona's the number 1 scoring defense. They're number 8 in opponent yards per play. Green Bay's coming in on the short week. They're down some manpower, obviously, at wide receiver. The best way to beat Arizona is to try to run on them. They're 31st in opponent yards per carry average, so you might be able to do that. And if you do, you're grinding the clock and keeping it running throughout the course of the game. Under 50.5 would be my play tonight.
So losing J.J. Watt didn't do anything at all for Arizona's side either, huh?
It did not. Normally, when we're talking about anything outside of the quarterback position, the impact on the point spread is minimal. J.J. Watt wouldn't have much of an impact at this point in his career. But, yeah, him being out, that is going to impact the game regardless.
Joe, I was curious because the line was originally 3.5 and then it dropped. It went up to 6.5, right? Obviously with no Lazard and Davante Adams. Like, how come there wasn't a bigger tick on that?
Well, once you start to get up to 6.5, the next step would be 7. And 7's one of the very key numbers when it comes to betting football. You always want to try to be on the right side of 3, of 7, of 4, if the opportunity presents itself. Main reason for that is a lot of games end on that differential, right? 28-21, 35-28, 24-17. So being on the right side of these numbers is absolutely key. We saw something similar last week with the Baker Mayfield injury. It was up around 6.5, 7. It started plummeting. Once it moved through 3, it wasn't a great bet anymore to play Denver because you were missing all that value.
All right, so Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Cleveland -3.5. Impact on Baker's injury.
All right, so this is a good one here. Cleveland opened around 2.5. It got up to 3. Then it trickled up to 3.5. Not a lot of faith in Pittsburgh. They do have 2 weeks to get ready for this game. Cleveland, conversely, has about 10 days to get ready for this game because they're coming off a Thursday nighter. So they're on extra rest as well. Mayfield, when we talk about Mayfield's impact to the line, we have to look at it 2 different ways. A healthy Baker Mayfield versus an injured Baker Mayfield, and an injured but playing Baker Mayfield versus an out Baker Mayfield, right? Because when he was trying to go against Denver, we didn't see much of a dip in the line. The big dip came later when the running backs and so many other key players were listed as out for that game. But if he's playing hurt, he's not 100%. And we've seen that. We've seen games in recent weeks, that Minnesota game earlier in the season, when he couldn't make plays down the field. You know, he's been struggling this year. So him leaving as an injured quarterback, that hasn't impacted the line as much because he wasn't playing great football to begin with. I will tell you that I might lean to Pittsburgh in this game. More on that as we get throughout the course of the show. But 3.5's a lot for a rested Steeler team.
Yeah, the great thing about it, though, I think the Cleveland Browns have an answer with Case Keenum at quarterback. As long as Case Keenum is healthy and 100% and Baker Mayfield is less than that, I play Case Keenum even though Baker Mayfield wants to get on the field if they want a real chance at beating Pittsburgh for the second straight time.
I completely agree with that. Completely agree. Keenum knows the offense. He played with Stefanski in Minnesota, and we saw it in the game against Denver. They didn't ask him to do too much. They leaned on that running game, which was still effective, even though the top 2 backs were out. But I agree with you. When Case Keenum's playing, he's the definition of having a valuable backup back there. It's one of the reasons why you're not going to see the spread drop as much. The gold standard everyone uses out here to talk about that is the year that Rodgers went down with an injury in Green Bay and they turned it over to Brett Hundley. And this isn't to disparage Brett Hundley, but that was an 8-point move on the point spread. It moved 8 points when they went from Rodgers down to Hundley. So keep that in mind. Not all backups are created equal.
Right, exactly. Joe Fortenbaugh, Daily Wager on the Goodyear Hotline here on Keyshawn, JWill, and Max. Okay, we got 3 more games. Let's do a little rapid fire here, Joe. You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Dallas at Minnesota. The 1.5-point favorites are the Cowboys. What is the impact of Dak's injury on this game?
Not a lot as of right now because he is expected to play. Dallas -2.5 was the look ahead. When it came back out, it was a pick 'em, and then it went up to Dallas -1.5. So it's really just been ping-ponging around in about a 0.5 point to 1 point range right now. Remember, the books know they're going to take Dallas money. They're 6-0 against the spread this season, the only perfect team in the NFL. Mike McCarthy in his career, 11-2-1 against the spread when off the bye. That's an advantage too. For all the people who like to take a shot at McCarthy, he has done well with extra rest.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's doing a tremendous job with the Dallas Cowboys. And much like you said, Joe, people do want to take shots at him. But here's what I would say. Mike Zimmer and the defense of the Minnesota Vikings certainly can dial some stuff up to give that offense some problems. Minnesota's offense and Dallas offense pretty much mirrors each other.
Okay, Tennessee at Indy. Indy favored by 1.5.
Indy was -2.5 on the look-ahead line, which is a line that comes out a week in advance. And then everyone watched Tennessee beat Kansas City, which was their second big win in a row coming off that Buffalo win. And then the line moved all the way to Tennessee -1. So it was a big adjustment. But the money has been trickling in on the Indianapolis Colts. They are back to being a 1-point favorite. They're getting healthy. It should be 4 straight wins if they didn't blow a 19-point lead with 16 minutes to go against Baltimore. So we have seen Indianapolis money this week, boys.
Don't look at the sloppy play of Carson Wentz and Indianapolis Colts in the rain in San Francisco, traveling that far, still get a W. Tennessee obviously came away, taking care of business and dominating last week, but I still give us a slight edge to Indy on this one.
San Francisco at Chicago. San Francisco favored by 4.
Niners open as a 3.5-point favorite. Little bit of Niner money moved it up to -4. Not a lot going on here. Who do you want to get behind? Chicago looked brutal last week at Tampa Bay. They should play better at home. They're not going to have to deal with opposing crowd noise affecting the offensive line, which has been dreadful. But they're 30th in scoring, and they're dead last in yards per play. Dead last. They have been tough to watch on offense. How much do you want to invest, though, when it comes to the Niners and laying big points on the road, considering the way they're playing football? They had 2 weeks to get ready for the Colts, and they looked miserable in that game. It's a stay away from me, boys.
I'm taking the Chicago Bears in this one, believe it or not, because
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.